It's the Medway Barge Match, an event that is important to us on the Edith May as it's our home race, sailing the waters that sail day in, day out. The forecast was for a north-northeast wind, 4 to 5, occasionally 6, although the placid start to the day belied what was to come. Having raced in the bowsprit class for most of this year, we had to drop back into the Staysail Class for the Medway match following the damage we sustained on the Thames to the bowsprit, and it gave us a chance to renew our old rivalries with the Repertor and the Niagara. The course, starting at Gillingham, takes us down out of the river beyond Sheerness to Medway No. 1 buoy, which we round to port before returning back to Gillingham. The Niagara had made the best start in our class, carrying good speed over the line and quickly establishing a lead. On our own part, although we were ahead of Repertor, we weren't sure if we'd have been a little bit early to get to the start line. Our best chance of catching the Niagara was if we had a long turn to windward, but the north in the wind allowed us to fetch all the way down to the garrison. We only had to put one tack in just to get round the harbour entrance, which was not enough for us to make up any real ground. Once past the garrison, it was a relatively easy fetch to make the outer mark, and quite exciting sailing as we clocked 10.5 knots. The Niagara reached the outer mark a few minutes before we got there, and we rounded alongside the Orinoco, who was leading the coasting class at that point, but had reduced sail due to the strength of the wind. The tide still had a couple of hours running out, and so we were now punching the tide going back in, but still able to make over 8 knots. the bowsprit class, which we hadn't seen anything of up to this point, the Marjorie had quite a sizable lead over the Blue Mermaid, and an upset looked like it was on the cards. In an effort to try and make up some ground on the Niagara, we dipped over towards the shallows on the Sheppey shore known as the Cant, and this seemed to pay dividends. We drew out a bit on the Repertor and closed up a little bit on the Niagara. That was about as good as it got though, and although we chased hard going up the river, there just wasn't enough time or opportunity to make up any ground. As we approached the finish line, unbelievably it was only 10:30, meaning we'd sailed the 26-mile course in only just over 3 hours, making it one of the fastest races in living memory. While we'd beaten the Repertor over the course, it did transpire that we'd jumped the start, and so we incurred a 15-minute time penalty, which demoted us back into 3rd place in the Staysail Class. However, nothing could detract from the fact it had been a really exhilarating sail and a most enjoyable end to our racing season for 2021. In the other classes, the Canberra had managed to overhaul the Orinoco to claim the honours in the coasting class, and Blue Mermaid had slipped past Marjorie to win the bowsprit class. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, then please subscribe to the channel, and if you want to help us in our work to keep these old girls sailing, then perhaps consider becoming one of our patrons.